Hi, my name is Tamara Clover. I'm a recruiter for UNM's combined BAMD program. I'm here at UNM Hospital today. We're in a simulation lab in the emergency medicine department. This lab is used to train doctors, nurses, and EMT professionals. So a really exciting setting for our topic today, which is becoming a doctor in the state of New Mexico through the BAMD program. It's tough for people in New Mexico to get adequate health care. We're a rural state. Healthcare is not cheap, and we actually have a shortage of doctors here in the state. If you know anyone who's had to wait a long time to see a specialist, or you know someone who travels to get healthcare, that's pretty common around the state. And when you've lived here for a long time, you might think, well, that's just the way things are. I'm not going to be able to change anything. Or maybe healthcare will be better in another state if I move. But things can absolutely change here in our own state. One of the things that can begin to make a difference is to see more local New Mexicans go into healthcare. And there's a lot of options in the healthcare field. You can become a doctor, you can become a nurse, you can become a physician's assistant or a nurse practitioner. There's pharmacy, physical therapy, even medical social work. So that's a sample to give you an idea of how many fields are out there. Careers in healthcare are a great way to make a difference in people's lives. They're challenging, they're interesting, and they pay well. Finally, there's a shortage of medical professionals here in New Mexico, but also in the U.S. And so once you have the education and training that's required, it's not going to be tough to find a job. There are a few steps that you're going to take on your path to becoming a doctor. The first step is to go to college and get your 4-year bachelor's degree. Once you graduate from college, you start medical school. Medical school is another 4-year program. The first couple of years are focused on a lot of classwork where you're learning in depth about human anatomy and physiology and also the practice of medicine. Here at UNM, the medical school is committed to caring for our community, so you'll be getting hands-on medical experience right from the beginning. But the second 2 years of your medical training, the second half, are devoted to giving you hands-on experiences in different medical specialties. There's a ton of different medical specialties out there. Some of you may be interested in becoming orthopedic surgeons, for instance, or oncologists already. You might have a specialty picked out, or you might not have any idea what's out there. You just know that you want to go into the field of medicine. We have a lot of time to pick your specialty. Every 8 weeks, you'll be rotated to a different specialty. Some of these will be assigned to you, and some of them you'll get to pick based on your interests. So for instance, you get to try out emergency medicine for 8 weeks. You get to try out surgery for 8 weeks, psychiatry. You might be interested in oncology, which is cancer treatment. And at the end of those 2 years, you've rotated through a lot of the different specialties that are available in medicine. And that's when you get to pick. That's when you get to commit to what you're going to be now. When you graduate from medical school, you have the letters MD after your name and you're a doctor. But it's kind of like driving with a learner's permit. At this point, you have a general medical training, but you still need training in the specific specialty that you've just chosen. So you get hired to work in a residency program. You get to apply for different programs, and then those programs select from their applicants. And so, for instance, if you've applied for orthopedic surgery, a hospital somewhere will select you to come and work as a resident doctor in their program, and you'll get the hands-on training in your new specialty, working under a doctor in that specialty. When you graduate from your residency program, you're finally equipped to pretty much go where you want and do what you want as a doctor in your new specialty. And we hope that you'll work here in New Mexico and make a difference in communities all over the state. Most people have one option for their path to medical school, but students in New Mexico actually have 2 options. So I'll tell you about those now. The first option is called the traditional route, because again, this is what most people do. And that's the route that I described earlier, where you apply to college, you go and graduate with your bachelor's degree, and then apply to medical school. Keep in mind that once you have your bachelor's degree, you can actually apply to medical school at any point in your life. So even if you start another career, you can come back and apply to medical school later. Even if you're not sure about going to medical school now, that's still an option for you in the future. The second option that you have, like I said, only New Mexico high school students and students in tribes who are members of tribes that cross the border of New Mexico are eligible for this option. So it's a really special program. The difference is that you apply to the program your senior year of high school. And if you're accepted both to your bachelor's degree program and medical school. This is a really great option to consider if you're already interested in the medical field now in high school. But just keep in mind that you need to apply to the BAMD program between August and mid-November of your senior year, or you're no longer eligible for the BAMD option. You'll go the traditional route after you graduate with your bachelor's degree. Now I'm going to tell you why the BAMD program is such a great option and why it's a great idea to apply if you are interested in medicine right now in middle school or high school. One of the first benefits is that the program reserves a spot for you in medical school while you're working through your bachelor's degree in college. Like I mentioned before, if you apply in high school and you're accepted both to the bachelor's degree program and provisionally to medical school. Another benefit of the program is that we have advisors who work just with the students in our program. So UNM is a big school, and we have advisors who help all students here at the school. Advisors are like high school counselors. They help you set your course schedule, choose your major, make adjustments to that as you go along. But like any big high school, the counselors or advisors are working with a lot of students. So that's a benefit to being in our program, where you have one-on-one interactions with your advisors. They know who you are, and they can really give you more in-depth help as you progress through your undergraduate degree. Another benefit of the program is that you live in the dorms with other students who are also in the program for the first 2 years. So you get the benefit of having kind of a ready, set group of friends who are pursuing the same path that you are. You have people taking your core pre-med classes with you, so you can study together. When you come back to the dorms after class, you have a support group built in, and then you can explore out of that. You can expand out of that as you get more comfortable with college life. And the last 2 years of your undergraduate degree, you can choose to remain living on campus or get an apartment off campus. It's up to you. It's not required that you live on campus any longer. Since 2006, students in the BAMD program have come from small, very small, and large towns all over New Mexico. So once in the program, you'll be studying with people from a lot of different backgrounds, from a lot of different places around the state and the Navajo Nation. If you're even interested in medicine at this point, this program is a really wonderful opportunity, and I encourage you to go ahead and apply and give it a shot. I'll let our current BAMD students talk about some of their experiences in the program and share those with you now.
I don't know, I think the hardest thing for most people going to college is making new friends, because usually everybody goes in separate directions. And you gotta find new people to hang out with, make new friends. And I think the biggest thing that BAMD did was they just gave you these 27 other people that are always there, and you can always talk to them. Whether it's you need help on homework or you're feeling homesick, because I guarantee you at least a third of them are feeling homesick. And anything you need, you can go and ask the other 27 people in your cohort. And it's really like a family, because, well, you don't get to choose them, but they're there for you. So it's a good time.
Beginning freshman year, it was a really different experience coming to college and not being able to understand where to go, what to do, but BAMD laid a foundation of these other individuals who were on the same page as me and lost almost in a way, not knowing where the classes were, not knowing where to go to eat, and the foundation of these other students coming from smaller towns coming into this bigger university and running to go to Sajia's in the middle of the night and pulling all-nighters at the library studying, and it just really provided me personally with this great network of students who were on the same page and who needed the support and motivation to continue with the undergraduate courses.
We came into the program and you're with 28 really brilliant students. So immediately coming in, I was like, oh, I'm trying to gauge this. I want to be their friends. You're living with them. You're taking classes with them. They're so smart. They're so bright. And coming in, I really wanted to be a great pre-medical student. So I know that the BAMD program, given your requirements, if you meet those requirements, you earn a reserved seat in the School of Medicine. But I didn't want to be the person that kind of freeloaded and didn't do anything because I had that earned seat. So I thought, oh, I'm going to do research, I'm going to be a science major, do all the kind of routine checklist pre-medical things. But then I realized along the way that I wasn't really taking advantage of what the program had to offer me. And so what it does have to offer, and what I think is really incredible about the program, is you have this earned seat, so you have the opportunities to do what you love as an undergraduate, even if it isn't the most stereotypical form filling out things. And so for me, that meant that I didn't end up taking a job at CAPS as a tutor. I ended up working with the student government on campus. I'm actually the vice president of the undergraduate body right now. I've spent all 4 years doing that sort of thing. I've worked more in the community with different organizations, refugee populations and things like that. I haven't worked with rats in a lab or flies, but I've really loved my undergraduate experience, and I think that that's something that isn't showcased about the BAMD enough. It's really great to feel that sense of security, that you do have that seat, but it's also really great to know that then for 4 years you really get to explore who you want to be and what you want to do while still having that security.
You have an advisor when you're a freshman and sophomore, then you have a different advisor when you're a junior and senior. But one thing that the program, I guess you could say, has a one-up on that a lot of undergraduate students don't have is that our advisors see only about 40, 50 people roughly each, whereas the normal advisor I think sees about 200 to 300 people. So they know you by name, they know your interests, they know your schedule, and they're there literally to help you succeed. So whether it's helping you build your schedule last minute because you forgot to, or because, I don't know, you got a C on a chemistry test and you just want to go cry to them about it, the advisors BAMD offers are there for you to help you succeed. A way a lot of people like to put it is they're kind of like your second moms, and I kind of like to agree with that statement.
They have CAPS are basically tutors or student tutors, and for the first year you have to complete like 2 hours a week, and being the best in your school, like I was too proud to admit that I would need help, but because BAMD requires you to go, it really relieved that kind of pressure. Like you realized that it wasn't so much that you didn't know something, it was more like learning in a better way, and learning how you learn, and learning how to manage your time.
In AP Biology, we covered all of biology, so a little bit of everything, but I feel like we go into real depth, and Professor Johnson himself really focuses on the pharmacology aspect of biology, and so it relates to us in medicine because he explains how things work on a molecular basis, and it's nice to know how something works. So he talks about how perhaps like pH would affect the use of drugs and things like that. So I mean, it's real nice to know, and I feel like his class is also really challenging because it's so in depth. So it's not necessarily just math regurgitation like AP Biology was to me. This one is actually application of the processes that we learn, and so I feel like it forced me to study in a different way that's more effective for me. So I really like that. And I also like chemistry just because of Dr. Nottenveld and the way she teaches active learning. So it kind of made me an active learner. So when I take notes, I constantly take mental notes and cues and questions, and that way it's almost like you're mini studying throughout a whole session. That way you retain more information throughout the whole class.
Other ways that BAMD does help is because as a BAMD student, there are certain courses that you have to take that not necessarily every pre-med takes. Some of these include like the HMHV classes, human health, medicine, and human values. I believe it's been a long time, but these classes just get repeated in medical school. There is a public health course you have to take when you're undergoing MD training, and at least at UNM. And you're just miles ahead of everybody else in class because you had to do this already in BAMD. You are familiar with the social health disparities in New Mexico and in rural areas of all of the United States. You are familiar with programs that help create health changes all across the world. It's nothing new. By the time you get to med school, it's not stressful. You're like, I've done this so many times before, and you can assist your classmates at that point. And when you're in med school, any rotation that is easier for you is a blessing.
Apply. If you even have any little inclination of, well, I might want to do this, apply. People have changes of heart all along the road, but if you're even remotely interested, this is like a door, and if it gets opened, it leads you kind of like a straight path through medical school. And it frees you up in a lot of ways versus you kind of having to figure out what you want to do at each step of the way. It kind of opens you up to say, I have this end goal, and I have a guaranteed spot to that end goal. So I'm gonna go along it, and I'm gonna do whatever it takes for me to be as best as I can be.